About 10 years ago, I live in Los Angeles, California, the home of graven imagery. But I'm from Cincinnati, which is a Midwestern town. And I was at home conversing with some high school classmates of mine, and we were in our mid-40s. It was about 10 years ago, which brings up a joke. 50 is supposed to be the new 30, 55 is the new 90, for those of you who are getting there. But they were talking about actually getting Botox and plastic surgery because they were starting to wrinkle a little bit. And they looked at me because I looked considerably younger than I do now, as someone who hadn't changed much since high school. And, God, you're not going to have to do anything. Well, maybe not. But when they were talking about that, it occurred to me, at what point are they going to just fall in love with themselves and, just accept themselves the way they are, aging gracefully and naturally and beautifully, in my opinion? So I, at the time, was a pop culture critic at a newspaper in Fort Worth, Texas. I didn't live there, but I was their LA person, and I proposed a story about how different cultures of women approach aging. And by and large, let me put it this way. If we want to talk about the different ethnicities, black women were literally less worried about aging because they don't age as much this way. Okay, they don't get wrinkles, but we sag. Menopause is a great emancipator, so I'll take anyone's wrinkles for not another hot flash the rest of my life. But, white women, because their aging was a little bit more visible at a younger age, were very concerned. So they were, getting plastic surgery and Botox and all that stuff. And I found out by talking to a plastic surgeon that black women go into the plastic surgeon as well, but they get this sucked out. They get the folds sucked out, and then they get more body sculpture than facial reconstruction. But anyway, the Native Americans wouldn't even talk to me because they said, we have other issues. We are dying at 35. We're not caring about wrinkles. Asian women, by and large, revere the old, so they didn't care one way or the other. And Latina women were kind of on the fence. They were the only group that were kind of on the fence. So I wrote that story. And then in 2006, I was working at ESPN, and my show got canceled, and I found myself unemployed. So I said, well, gee, what to do? So I picked up that concept again and came up with this book called Journey to the Woman I've Come to Love. Spent 6 years on it simply because I got bored with it. I put it down. I got distracted. I wasn't going to do it. And then, last summer I'm in Venice, Italy, with a friend of mine who's also featured in the book, Laura Hollivans, who some of you may remember from The L Word. She said, just finish the damn thing. So I left Venice early, 2 days early, went back to LA and finished in 48 hours. And hence, we have this book. Now, people always ask me this question, and I really can't answer it. But I just say when I finish this book, I've never been more in love with myself than I am now, and that is true. And I deliberately set out to, initially I did set out to do a book that was celebrity driven because I'm no idiot. I know that's what sells books. But then it occurred to me, because I cover the entertainment industry, and I really get sick of the celebrity world sometimes, that there were a lot of women whose accomplishments were never noted because no one ever knew their name. So I made this sort of a healthy mix of celebrity and people you've never heard of. The woman on the cover is a woman I met at a street fair in LA, and her name is Nasarara Prempe, and she is the first African-American graduate in the School of Metallurgical Engineering, which I have no idea what that is, from MIT. Okay? She won't tell me how old she is. She just says she's between 70 and 100 because she's trying to find her new man. Okay? So she don't want to give her age out. And speaking of strokes, she had a very debilitating stroke shortly after I took this photo. And I don't know what they did, but she's up and hopping and she's a pistol. So she wasn't supposed to make it, but she's with us today. So I just wanted to read a couple of the responses from people in the book. One of my favorites is Angela Davis, whom some of you may remember. I was in 7th grade and wore a free Angela t-shirt to junior high, and they sent me home. But Angela said, well, I guess I would say I fell in love with myself when I realized that my community was much more important than me as an individual. I've come to recognize the absolute importance of community and collective struggle, and nothing I have accomplished, nothing significant, has ever been simply the result of my own skills, my own aspirations. It's always been in the context of a larger community. How cool is that? Isn't that cool? Also going to introduce you to Miss Rosa. She was a woman, a German woman who was in the nursing home my father was in before he passed. And I was always intrigued by her because she was always sitting alone, she was always smiling, and she was always talking about going to the beauty parlor. And one day I was leaving, and she looked up at me and she said, today's my birthday. And I said, today's your birthday? And she said, today's my birthday. And I said, did you have a party or something? She goes, no, but today's my birthday. And so, I felt really sorry for her because she appeared to be alone and had no family. And so I went to the grocery store down the street and bought her a birthday cake and candles and took it back. And she was so touched and, so emotional. She used to always do this thing where she'd just grab my face and kiss it like 19 times, like on both sides. And you had to catch her in kind of a lucid moment because she was suffering from Alzheimer's. And one day I just asked her about, her life, and because she grew up in Nazi Germany. And I asked her the question, and she said, everyone around me was so filled with hate, the Nazis, and that was so stupid to me. I didn't understand the hate. It didn't feel good. So even though people hated me for no reason, I learned early on to love myself. It was the only way to make it through all the insanity. And there's another one I like, which was one of the first people I included in the book, Nikki Giovanni, the poet, who's an old family friend. And where is Nikki? Here she is. Okay, Nikki says, I've always enjoyed me, but I guess you could say I really fell in love with myself when I realized I was smart. And if you know Nikki, that's so typical. That's so typical. And I'll read you one more. Sachin Littlefeather, I don't know if you remember her. Back in 1982, she was a woman Marlon Brando sent to refuse his Oscar. And she's now a comedian. And she said, I found out I had a good sense of humor. I learned to laugh at myself. I was young, which was a long time ago because I'm having some senior moments. Indian people do have a great sense of humor. Unfortunately, the dominant society doesn't realize that, but we've been laughing at them for a long time. A person of color has to learn to laugh at the ugly as well as the beautiful. And this is absolutely really one of my favorite ones. Myrlie Evers-Williams, who you may remember was the widow of Medgar Evers, who was assassinated back in the 60s, in the driveway in front of their house. She says, that's a difficult question. I was always a very, very shy person. Medgar would ask me to speak up, to be up front, and to do this or that, and I would always say, no, 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 no. The night of the day that he was assassinated, I wanted to go to a mass rally, and people said, no, you're too distraught. You cannot do that. I said, I want to go, and they said, we will not take you. I remember standing and saying, I will walk. I think that was kind of the turning point for me. It wasn't that I had not, over a period of time, had some questions about my strength. I know I'm strong. I know I'm a fighter. I hope I have done some good and will do more, but I will take on anything and anyone that tampers with my life and my children and with my husband's memory, my country, my people, for that matter. So get in line. I can hold it all. So that's the book. the criteria for getting in the book was that you had to be over 36, 36 and over, because we theorized that that's when women really come into their own. Usually you're kind of settled in your career, and if you wanted to do the marriage and kids thing, you're pretty settled in that. I don't have any kids because I never have any food. I'm just put that out there as the truth. The thought of having to feed other people than myself, I eat out every day. It would not work. But there were two women that I made exceptions for, and they were both Africans, and they were both African singers. One's from Morocco. Her name is and this is Lyra, who's a South African singer. And Lyra said, I fell in love with myself very late in my life, in my opinion. I was in my late 20s, and it dawned on me that I cannot carry on in this life, almost resenting how I look or not being happy with being how tall I am. You know, it just seemed like it was madness to carry on like this. So I began to really settle into my skin to say, this is it. It doesn't get any better. This is it, so get comfortable and start loving this. The transformation you go through is powerful. Become fully feminine, and it just becomes a beautiful thing to be in this skin. I cannot help it now. I love being a woman. I love being an African woman because I have fully learned to exist within myself, and it's just wonderful. So thank you very much. The book, I have like 10 copies if anyone wants it, 10 copies for 10 pounds. And, you know, it's been a great experience. I'm here because I was doing some signings in a burb called Lakenheath. And we're taking it to Germany next and then back to the States, and it's going really well. So thank you for having me, and thank you for staying.